You are listening to From Ring to Veil.
I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim.
And we are your wedding planning gurus.
We take the stress out
and put the fun back into wedding planning.
Wedding Day Delegating, episode 136.
Thank you, Kate, for being here again.
Of course. Always love being here.
So we have some kind of exciting news. One of our listeners has contacted Kate, and she's now her client too. So
yes, I'm so excited. I get to go and shoot her wedding out of state, which is super fun.
I'm so excited about that. That just makes me happy. I mean, like, this is why we're doing it.
Exactly.
So
yes.
I can't wait to see the pictures from that wedding, although it's not going to be for a while, but still.
And they are a stunning couple, so I can't wait to photograph it.
Great.
It's going to be really fun.
Awesome. So. We have gotten a lot of feedback and a lot of shares for our last show with the photographer, how to interview your photographer with you. I mean, it's going crazy. People are really enjoying that show.
Awesome.
And I've gotten none of the, this is wrong.
Oh, gosh.
No negative.
I kept watching like all the comments every time I would see a share to be like if there was stuff that people didn't agree with. And I try to be somewhat ambiguous in the things that I say because I know there is such a wide range. So I was pretty happy to see that no one was like, oh my gosh, why did she suggest this? So that was kind of fun. It was good.
Another little update on Shannon. She has found a house and they are closing in a couple of weeks and will be moving in. So I think we're on schedule to have her back in September, maybe more to the middle of September. Just depends on how well her move-in and quickly her move-in goes.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Shannon.
Yes. All right. So let's get into the topic today. We always tell our people, you guys, our listeners, to delegate things. But we haven't actually told you who and what to delegate. So we thought we would sit down and go through the many, many things that need to be done and help you figure out how to delegate those.
Yes, it's going to feel like about 1,000 things.
Yes.
So just a fair warning. And this might kind of give you, especially if you're just starting in your planning, a little bit of an overwhelming feeling, but we hope that we can kind of break that down and tell you, like, you can hand this off to someone and trust that it'll get done.
And you don't have to do everything yourself.
No, please don't do everything yourself.
So let's preface this with, we always encourage you to hire help for this, meaning a wedding planner, either a full wedding planner or at the very least, a day of planner to help you with this. But if you cannot, you absolutely cannot, then hopefully this delegation will help you out.
First on our list is hotel reservations. With the hotel reservations, you'll not only want to be reserving a hotel for you guys, maybe even to get ready in, but definitely for the night of your wedding. But you'll also want to make sure that you're reserving blocks for your guests out of town. And this is something that is super easy and awesome for your groom to do. So your groom can take care of this for you. So, especially... This literally takes like 10 minutes. As long as you have a good guesstimation of how many rooms that you might think you need. A lot of the times people say, plan for about 10% of your guests needing accommodations. But yeah, just make sure that you have all those things blocked out beforehand, well in advance, not like a month beforehand or a couple of weeks beforehand, like 6 months or more in advance. And then that way, when people do RSVP, you can let them know, yes, there are blocks here, just call.
Right.
So, but definitely have your groom take care of that one.
Right. And with that, I don't know if we should mention, but it has to be, you don't have to reserve like a week for everybody. It's really the night before and the night of your wedding. And then if they're coming early or they're staying later, meaning your guest, then that's up to them to make sure they have a place to stay. But for you, for this particular reservation, it's going to be just for the wedding, the day before, the night of.
Yep, for sure.
So if you're DIYing stuff, which most of this will be DIYing stuff, if you're doing drinks and food, you're going to need somebody to refill your drinks. So, you're not hiring a staff to hand out and refill. You're going to need to find somebody to help your guests with that.
And not just refill drinks, but any drink dispensers, any food that needs to be refilled or restocked or condensed. So any of that, you're going to need someone to do that, especially if you don't have a lot of room for, say, an extra dessert table. You're going to have to condense your food down and add your dessert table to that. So you'll want to make sure that you have people that can take care of this for you. And this is usually a great job for like cousins or older nieces and nephews.
Next one is breaking down tables after everything's done and finished.
Yes. And this can actually happen twice. So there can be the point where you are swapping out and need to remove some tables for your dance floor. And then also at the end of the evening. So you'll want to make sure that you have people that can know, first of all, how to break down a table. Secondly, be able to follow directions enough so that they can figure out where those tables should go. And third, are strong enough to actually be able to move those tables. So this is a great job for uncles, dads, things like that.
Right. You could say teenage boys, but a lot of times they don't really understand how things work.
Yes.
And things could get broken and misplaced and stuff like that. So
Yes. If they're super responsible, go for it.
Yes, exactly.
So the next one is where to sit during the ceremony. So this unfortunately comes up quite a bit, and you would think that this would be kind of a no-brainer, but not really. So family should always be sitting up front. So any parents, grandparents in the front row. Second row should be for siblings and their spouses and children. And then their third and fourth rows could be for your aunts and uncles and cousins. So you'll want to make sure that someone is delegated to be able to tell people where to sit as they're coming to sit for the ceremony, and that they would kind of know who the family is. So again, a lot of these jobs we're going to recommend are good for cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews. It's a great way to get them involved without them having to be involved as far as bridal party.
Right.
So,
and this person could also be the person that hands out the programs if you're doing that.
yes, for sure. And then a guest book attendant. So this is perfect for like that 11 to like 14-year-old niece because they get pretty excited about being involved, and it kind of gives them a really important job so that they can tell everybody as they're putting their gifts down, like, don't forget to sign the guest book, or explain how the guest book works, because there's a lot of guest books now that aren't traditional. Like last weekend, we actually had one where the couple had people write notes to them on paper airplanes and then stand back and kind of throw it into the target. So it definitely required a lot more explanation than just, sign this guest book.
Right.
So it would be fun if you had someone there who could actually explain that.
That's right.
And especially if it's non-traditional.
You also need somebody handing out programs, kind of like we said earlier, and they could also be the ones telling where people sit. But if you are doing big programs or even just a small leaflet of what's going to happen, even then you might hand out your maps to where the reception is and that kind of stuff. So you'll need somebody to make sure that everybody's getting the information they need.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the perfect time to give out those instructions on, how to go to the reception and things like that is with the programs. So, all right. Next one on the list is parking attendants.
This is important.
Oh, yes. Don't just assume because people can see where other cars are that they will understand where to park.
Right.
So there is quite a bit of logistics that go into parking for an event. In part because you don't want vehicles spread all over to where it ends up in any of the angles for any of your ceremony or reception shots. And that you don't want people to block people in. So it's really important to not just have like somebody at the head of where people pull in. You want someone kind of down in the lot too, being able to say, okay, this is a great place for you to park. This is a great place for you to park. And that you also have an overflow plan just in case you don't end up with 4 to 5 people per vehicle on average, and you end up with only 2 to 3. You're going to have a lot more vehicles than you planned. So this is a great job. Again, uncles, cousins, especially older cousins, anybody who can give an instruction and make people follow it.
Right.
So,
and are good at organization.
Yes.
Now, there are companies that you can hire
Yes.
to do your parking attending for you. But this is just in case you don't go with that. So now when it comes to the exit, so the end of the evening, sometimes as we've talked about before, you do a fake exit, and you'll need somebody to help you hand out whatever it is that you're doing. We can't do rice anymore, so like birdseed or, confetti, sparklers, that kind of thing. You'll need somebody to help you hand that out because you aren't going to do that right before your exit. You are going to be with your photographer figuring out exactly where you're leaving, when you need to leave, how to leave, all that kind of fun stuff.
Well, not only will they need to hand those things out, but they'll need to kind of give directions.
That too.
Because what we've noticed is when sparklers get handed out, people just immediately want to light them. Or like with bubbles. And then by the time your bubble exit happens, most of the people's bubbles are gone. Or, this way they can help open them. They can give instructions of like, don't light them until we tell you. You'll need to light all these people around you. So things like that. That way they know and your exit doesn't get ruined just because someone is like, jump ready. But
this is not the 4th of July, people.
Exactly. And we don't want to burn anybody. So we kind of need to know when, to light them. So that helps is if you can give instructions to someone and have them handed out. So this is a great one for aunts because aunts tend to be slightly more authoritative and intimidating than the younger crowd.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And you don't have to think of your guests as stupid, but do kind of, like just go into it knowing they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
They're not dumb, but they just don't know what they're supposed to do. And you hand them a sparkler, they're going to want to light it. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And especially if you are drinking or anything, like there is that aspect.
Makes it worse.
For sure. And people just as much, even if you've been to like 25 weddings that year, chances are you sort of still don't understand what's going on.
Right, because they're all kind of different, right?
Yeah, and especially older guests. Like, a lot of what we do now at weddings was completely not even something they considered, and that maybe even their own children didn't do at their weddings, because most of what we're seeing now at weddings have been trending in the last 5 years. So even a decade ago, like, a lot of this is unheard of. So just assume like everything is new, just like it was new for you when you were planning, and just like some of it'll still feel new to you on your wedding day. Like this is all new. And so that's why it's super important to have someone who can say, this is how this goes, and let me give you as much information as possible while I'm handing out all this exit stuff. So, because exits weren't things that people did.
No. So, well, in a way, with the birdseed and the rice, but it wasn't like it is now.
No,
it definitely isn't like
not
it was.
Coordinated in the way it is.
We
now
have no photos of that.
No,
like barely.
Yeah,
it's just snapshots.
Exactly.
And while we're talking about older relatives, let's talk about restrooms and where they need to be, and drinks and foods. And I'm gonna let Kate talk about this because she sees this way more than I do.
So one of the things, and this makes me really sad, so sorry, I'm a little emotional about it just because I do have older relatives, and they tend to get forgotten. And I have seen times where everyone at their table is eating dinner and they still don't have food because no one has noticed that they don't have food and can't easily get through the food line. They don't know where the restroom is. They don't know where they're supposed to be. No one goes up and gets them drinks. A lot of these older people at our weddings don't get around quite as well. And so they're left at the mercy of the people that are there with them. And there are some people who are fantastic caregivers and really look after them, but then there's the handful that aren't. So please, if you're inviting older relatives, make sure that you have someone there that knows it's their responsibility to take care of them that day so that they never feel lost or forgotten.
Right.
And so that they are fed, and that they do have drinks, especially if it's hot, that they can be kept in shade if need be. So someone that's really looking out after them. So,
and on the other side of the spectrum, we've got kids. If you decide to have kids at your wedding,
yes,
it would be very beneficial to have somebody watching over them.
Yes. And this is a great job for older nieces and nephews or cousins. Not necessarily a sitter per se, but someone who knows, they're not supposed to climb on that, or, they're getting a little too close to this, or they need to stay off the dance floor during special dances, or let's keep them quiet during toasts. So things like that. Even if there's a kids table, not every kid is going to stay at that kids table or be intrigued by what's at that kids table. So making sure that there's someone who can kind of keep an eye and remember that they're there, because let's be honest, parents tend to feel like when you go to a wedding, it's a free-for-all and their kids just run around unsupervised.
Right.
So it's nice to just have another set of eyes there that can be like, hey, stay away from the stage. So because unfortunately, that's probably the biggest issue that we see, is that little kids are just dancing around the stage while the couple's trying to share their special dance.
Right.
And
you're trying to get video and photos.
Yes.
And again, it's not your photographer or your videographer's job to take care of that.
Right. And it's awkward for us to be like, hey, get off the stage. So
exactly.
And a lot of parents, of course, think that's cute. Oh, my kid's so cute. It's not cute when it comes to, getting the photos back to the couple. It's actually kind of disrespectful. So it'd be nice if there was like a teenager or, even young 20s that can go out and just kind of grab them off the stage and be like, oh, yeah, let's play over here. So that's a huge recommendation. So, yeah, definitely delegate someone to kind of keep an eye on everybody.
All right, let's talk about tips for vendors.
Yes.
So we've always said we enjoy tips. A lot of times people forget that we are in the service industry, and service industry people like tips. It helps pay the bills. And you need somebody who will hand out those tips and be responsible for them.
Yeah, this is a great job for a maid of honor or a best man. And make sure that they know to like hand those tips out to the vendors as those vendors arrive and not as they're leaving. Because often vendors will just scoot out of there without saying goodbye to anybody, because they usually do have other jobs. And also, if you do plan on sending a tip but don't have one that day, don't say anything. So, because often it does get forgotten, life happens. Just tell them thank you. Even just a thank you card is fantastic, because it's more than most people do or get. But make sure that you do have someone assigned who has the tip already ready in an envelope, and knows exactly who to give that to. And you can even split that up and give, any of the ones that, say, the makeup artist, you have the maid of honor do the one for the makeup artist because she's not going to go in with the guys. Dads could also do this job really well as well. So, anybody who, like all the food, make sure that dad or best man take care of those vendors.
Right.
So, just try to keep in mind who will probably see those people so that they can get the tips to them. All right. So the next one that we have on here is taking care of centerpieces and any florals that you have at the end of the wedding day. So if you're going to be taking them somewhere to be donated, or if you're going to be giving them out to your guests, or if you're going to find some way to recycle these centerpieces, make sure there's someone who knows what you're doing and knows who should be taking these, or if the vases need to be returned to the florist, anything like that.
Yes, and please make sure that your guests know, specifically if you are renting those vases, that don't take those.
Yes.
Take the flowers, not the vases. Even sometimes after weddings, we're contracted to go back and pick them up that evening, specifically because they have rented stuff. Otherwise, we normally don't go back and pick up. But sometimes we'll pick them up and they'll be full of flowers and nobody's taken them. And if you haven't ahead of time figured out what you want done with them, they just get thrown away, put in the compost, So it's really sad.
It is, especially because there's so many places that'll take them.
Yes.
And it's places you can even drop off without prearranging. So there are floral services in Seattle that will take care of donating them for you, or you can usually go to any funeral home or retirement home and donate them as well. And even some of the hospitals, like children's hospitals in the area, will take them. So there's so many options where you can give back. And that's
there are some that will take them and rearrange them for other weddings.
Yep.
So if you feel like you want to do that too.
Yeah, and what a great way to give back with your wedding. So any way that you can, and especially with florals, that's a fantastic way to be able to give back and make someone else's day brighter because of your wedding day.
Exactly. All right, if you're having a photo booth, and let's say it's not you go in and sit in them, you might have somebody kind of watching over all the props that nothing gets torn up or thrown away or walked off. Somebody to just kind of keep that going, maybe grabbing guests and saying, hey, have you hit the photo booth yet? That's kind of our what's the word I'm thinking of? A scrapbook for the night or something like that. It's just, you just need somebody to, if there's not already an attendant there, to just keep that going.
And even with the sit-down ones, we've noticed that a lot of people don't tend to get in line to do it until it's like the last call. And so it's not something that's announced regularly by DJs. Usually they'll say, oh, photo booth's closing in 30 minutes. And then suddenly there's like this mass exodus rush to get in the photo booth. But like, just have someone who, like, your really outgoing friend, probably in your bridal party, who can go around and be like, hey, come to the photo booth, and is willing to go in the photo booth like 50 times that night. Because there will be people that won't go in without them, and they will have to forcefully pull them in there. So, yeah.
All right, this is a good one. Give someone your phone or your camera and ask them to take a bunch of snapshots, just selfies and fun shots that maybe the photographers are, really busy with your first dance, but you want somebody else to take snapshots of the guests and things like that.
I would say just in general, like, I know a lot of photographers get really offended with the like, oh, stuff you miss. Well, guess what? There is stuff we miss.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get everything.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's this great shot that one of my brother just got married 2 weeks ago. And his brother-in-law on the other side got this photo of him like doing kind of the hang loose sign up at the altar. And we were totally not at the right angle for that.
Right.
And it happened like split second after the first kiss. So we totally missed that moment.
Right.
He would never have that like fun shot if someone else had not been using his phone to get that photo. So we're totally, and I know we're not in the norm.
True.
But we're totally like, have at it.
Yeah.
There is a point where it's better if someone else has your stuff anyways, then you're not tempted to be on it all day.
Exactly.
Because I have had weddings where the bride or the groom are on their phone pretty much all day.
Oh my goodness.
And it makes it really hard to get photos that I know they're going to love later because they were so distracted into their phone. But I know a lot of venues now have Snapchat filters just for their wedding.
Right.
You could even pay to get your own Snapchat filter that has all of your own details on it. And I know a lot of couples now have hashtags they're using. So, feel free. Hand someone your phone. Hand someone your camera. Let someone be in charge of getting those fun shots. I'm not going to take selfies of you with your buddies.
Exactly.
Like, go ahead. I'm not going to get that same reaction with you that your friends are. You're not going to make the funny faces or throw up the peace sign. There's just things that aren't going to happen for me that'll happen with your group of friends.
That's right.
So yeah, definitely hand those off. Those are the memories that you want to have from behind the scenes that'll be different than the curated memories that we're creating.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was thinking. You're sitting at a table with a bunch of people and you guys are laughing and having a good time, but the photographers are working on other things. They don't see what's going on over here, and you've got this. And then you can take your phone that evening or the next morning or day and scroll through all those fun things and just laugh and have great memories.
Yeah. And it kind of tides you over until you get your full gallon of sauce too, which is awesome.
That's true.
So, and I personally find no offense whatsoever to that. And there's just things that are just going to come up where like, yeah, you have 20 guest tables and I'm working on a guest table that's all the way across the room from you. I'm not going to catch that. So yes, please have someone have your phone or your camera.
And it's not like we're saying photographers are not doing their job. You just can't. You can't. You cannot be at every place. You're one person, or two people. It doesn't work. Anyway.
No. So,
no disrespect for the photographers.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm, I actually think this is a fantastic one, especially because also I will probably, when I show up and I see that you have your phone, I'm going to hand it to someone. I will literally take it out of your hands and hand it to someone else so that they can deal with everything that's going on and people that are texting you.
True. Yes, they can do that too.
Yeah, it's your wedding day. You don't need to respond to every Facebook post happening on your wall. You don't need to respond to every text. You're going to be getting hundreds of them probably throughout the day of people going, oh, it's your wedding day. Congratulations. See you soon. Great. They can see you soon and say that in person. You don't need to answer them. So it's a lot about priorities. And my whole goal is that you're experiencing the day.
Yes.
And not experiencing it through your phone because you're going to miss a lot of things. So,
and that's also why you should have a day of coordinator to take care of all these fires that are going to happen, and you can just concentrate on your day.
Exactly.
Next thing, decor. Okay, so you need somebody to help you put it up and know where it goes.
Yes.
And then you need somebody to help you move it if it needs to be moved from the ceremony to the reception or outside or whatever that is. And you need somebody to help you tear down at night in the evening, specifically because most venues need everything out and gone that night.
Yeah, no trace left behind is a lot of venues' requirements. So this person should be organized and creative and should technically be a team.
Right.
Each person can probably set up 3 to 4 tables within an hour period and make sure that they're perfect. So there should be someone who can kind of lead up that team, and then anybody, underneath them should be able to take directions pretty well. So this last weekend we did one, and we had, a day of person that kind of led the team, and then everyone else was underneath her kind of just following her directions. And it was fantastic because she had what I call stupid proofed it to where there were totes for each table. And there was a photo of how it should look on that table.
That's really awesome.
And it made it go super fast. And then people didn't have to ask 5,000 questions of like, okay, what are the tiny little branches for? Or what, where does this go on the table? And so it was very streamlined. And then everything went back into those totes at the end of the night.
Awesome.
And then everything got packed down because you knew exactly where it was. And so
Super
that's
smart.
why, create a site plan. And if you don't have a coordinator to do all this for you, find your most organized, creative family member or friend. So please don't make this person be part of your bridal party.
Right.
Because that gets just insane. Make sure that it's a family member that you trust, that you're close with, that will understand your wedding day vision, especially because sometimes decor choices have to be made at last minute. Say where you wanted the sign set up, it's not going to work because it's all wobbly or it's now blocked by more growth of whatever plant wasn't there before. Or the sun is crazy and things need to be moved.
This could be a good thing for a female friend that you didn't invite to be in your wedding party because you only wanted to have a couple of people.
Yes.
But you really wanted to have them involved.
Yep.
This could be a great responsibility for them.
Yes.
So
and
she's part of your wedding
discount the guys, though, that have that crazy, amazing, decoration eye. Because, we had a guy that just blew our minds a couple of weeks ago, and their bridal party was small, so he wasn't able to be in the bridal party. It was super close to the couple. And he literally did anything that anybody needed that day. He filled up their wines. He did all the centerpieces. He was incredibly ingenious and creative and innovative. And he came up with all these different ways to do things that
That's awesome.
Really added to the day. So it was really fantastic. And he was not someone I would normally have asked to do that. But if you know that you have someone that is incredibly creative and decor minded and just can make sure that everything the way you want it to go,
That's
ask
awesome.
them to do it. Well, because we didn't expect him to even be there.
Oh, okay.
And he showed up early just in case they needed help.
Nice.
And he was like, yeah.
They should have asked him probably from the beginning.
Right? Yeah. We were so thankful for him, though. So it was really good. But yeah, make sure you have someone that you can trust and that is just that rock star, even the underestimated rock stars. So, yeah.
So in the same kind of vein, you need somebody to keep track of your gifts. Take them wherever they need to be taken after the wedding is over. Maybe it's to your parents' house. Maybe it's to your hotel. Maybe it's just to your house, wherever it is. Or maybe they hold on to it until you come back and get it.
And in that same thought process, like you need someone who will remove your gifts just before the ceremony is starting, like when everybody sits down. Let's move gifts into a room or into a car that you know is secure, preferably a room because cars are out in the parking lot. They're moving those gifts, and then halfway through the reception, they're moving any gifts that have now been added to the table as well. So same goes with cards. But that way, those things are kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Right. So, there you go. There was just a Facebook something going around article about how one of the actual wedding vendors stole from the bride and groom.
Ugh.
I mean, it can happen. It can happen. And it doesn't have to be a vendor. It could be anybody. It could be a guest. It could be
someone
wedding
just
party.
Driving by because they know it's a venue.
Exactly. I mean, so just, keep those. And you had told me before about the cards.
Yes. So we recommend that the cards go with the couple wherever they're going. So in the interim, I would bring them into wherever the bride was getting ready, or a locked room, same room preferably with the gifts. But I always recommend that those go with the couple on the night of their wedding, because it is kind of fun to go through all those well wishes either that night or the next day. And most of those cards contain a high amount of money. So,
cash or gift cards.
Yeah, exactly. And so just to ruin the risk of anything happening, we highly recommend those stay with the couple themselves.
Very good.
And especially if you're going to go on a honeymoon, you're going to want to have all those things before you go. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So bouquets.
Yes.
Knowing that you're taking pictures before the ceremony even starts, your bouquets are going to go in and out of the water, basically. Yes. Normally, they are supplied with a vase and water so that they're not out of water all day long, and by the end of the night, they're dead. So when you're taking your bouquets out, they're going to be dripping. Some of them, if they've been dyed, may drip blue or pink or red. You don't want that on your dresses at all.
Yeah.
So you need somebody to help take out those bouquets and dry them off, which is usually your photographer. No, I'm just kidding.
No, well, I tend to do that most often because there isn't someone appointed. And even when I do say, hey, we need to take these out and dry them, no one moves. So
you need somebody to help with that.
Yeah, and note that needs to be done beforehand, because I think that's most of the issue is people don't realize, like, oh, I want to take these out and dry them. And for us, it's because we don't want you to look like you wet yourself.
True.
And it just, that way you're comfortable holding this thing, because where it's going, like the top of it is going to be touching your navel, which means it's literally the wet spot is going to be where you don't want wet spots. And so once like all the photos are done, you need to know, okay, where's the vases for these? Are they going back into a fridge? Because a lot of times our bouquets are in fridges.
Okay.
And, you know, who's going to be in charge of grabbing them before we go down the aisle and drying them again. And then do these vases need to be put out into the reception area?
Right.
And then who's going to collect all those bouquets after the ceremony and put them where they need to be in the reception area?
Right.
So there's a lot involved with the bouquets that most people don't realize. So.
There is. And, you know, I have to say, usually when we drop off, we find the coordinator and we say, okay, here's the vases. Because you've planned all this out ahead of time with your florist.
Yes.
The florist will pretty much know where everything's going to be going. So she needs to relay that just so nobody is confused. And she needs to know where you want your bouquets. So if you have somebody in charge of bouquets, that would be great.
Yeah. And on that same token, I'm going to add in here boutonnieres.
Same, yes.
Because so many people forget that they even exist. Or who gets them, or which one belongs to who. Most of our florists do label them like groom,
yes,
father of the groom, you know, things like that. But there are some that don't. So always make sure that someone knows where the boutonnieres are, who gets them, and how to put them on.
Yes, how to put them on
And
is a
if they
big deal.
can't put them on themselves, they need to know who does know how to put them on so that they can find those people when needed.
Right.
And this is a great best man job.
Okay.
So this is a fantastic best man job because he can figure out, or even the person second to the best man, they can usually figure out where those things are and who can pin them on.
Okay.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Because sometimes you're not wearing a jacket and you have suspenders and you need
Yes.
somebody to know how to handle that too.
Yeah. Because we get a lot of questions about that.
Oh,
like,
sure.
okay, I'm in suspenders only. Where does the boutonniere go? Or often we are only provided with one pin for a heavy boutonniere, which is hard, so.
We always put two, but
Yes, yeah.
sometimes you only put one.
Sometimes people don't. So, or if they're the magnetic ones,
Yes.
how do you put this on? What thickness can it go on that it'll actually work? If you have corsages for the moms, what wrist does it go on? Who's presenting those? So all those things, it's really super important for people to know. And again, maid of honor, best man, or the people who come second to them in your line.
So all these things,
Yes.
if something goes wrong, they're going to contact the one person that they know who knows about this, and that's you, the bride.
Yeah.
And so that means if you go through this list and you look and every single thing has questions to it, your getting ready is going to be interrupted so many times.
Yes.
And it's going to delay your wedding. And it's just, anyway, I'm just saying, it's just something you should delegate to other people.
Yeah. And if you don't have a day of coordinator, and obviously we do really strongly suggest you get one.
Because of this.
Yes.
Because of this right here.
Yeah.
Not because we're trying to say you need to spend more money,
Right.
but because of this, that's why you need it.
And someone who's experienced at weddings, because when I got married, I actually had two attendants who weren't in my bridal party who were responsible for kind of all of these things. One of which I asked to do this, and the other one who just showed up and offered it to me
that's nice.
out of the goodness of her heart. And I was so thankful I had both of them, but there were still things I was taking care of myself because no one knew the plan. And so now, hindsight, I wish I would have hired someone who had experience.
And knew the plan.
Exactly. Or even given more of the plan to those two people. Because had they known how to do certain things or what my vision was for certain things, I would have been far less stressed out. So instead, I was back there, 20 minutes before my ceremony trying to troubleshoot the webcast. And that could have easily been done by one of them if they knew what I was doing.
Right.
So, if you're not going to hire a day of, make sure that you have a really in-depth meeting with whoever it is that you're assigning to the pseudo day of role.
Right.
And so I have seen a lot of weddings where this is given to a sorority sister.
Aww.
Or it's given to an aunt. And as long as they have been well-versed in kind of how your day is going to roll out, what your plans are, what your what-if scenarios, so they can make calls on those, they do pretty well. But yeah, this is all stuff that all of these people, that specific person should know and should know who's responsible for it.
Okay. All right. Garter and bouquet toss.
Okay, so this is a big one because I actually recommend most of my brides to not wear the garter down the aisle. Because one, garters are slightly uncomfortable. Two, most of my brides tend to order the wrong size garter because it's hard to know what size garter you should wear.
Exactly, when you don't wear them every day.
No. And three, I've actually had a couple of brides lose them going down the aisle.
Aw.
Like it falls off as they're walking down the aisle. And that's just awkward.
Yeah.
And so we recommend that there's someone who's in charge of your garter and your bouquet for tossing for the reception. So someone who can A, bring the garter with them, and B, remember to put it on you. And then C, someone who has the bouquet nearby so that you're not running all over Tarnation.
Right.
Trying to find this bouquet you're going to toss.
Right.
So,
Which, as we've said before, should never be your actual bouquet. Should always have one to toss.
Yes.
A smaller, non-lethal one.
yeah, preferably.
And not as expensive one, too.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, and that's, that should be something that your florist will be able to tell you need. But some florists don't mention that. So make sure that you know that you have a separate, smaller bouquet for tossing. Next would be the transportation. set up from the ceremony to the reception for the bride and the groom and for the guests. So this, I'm also going to add on to this one that this also should include transportation after the reception.
Right.
So there are services that you can hire. And a lot of couples tend to do things like party buses or the, big transportation companies, things like that. But some do Ubers, Lyfts, car for hires. And I'm going to tell you, especially if it's a busy summer weekend, you're going to want to have a backup plan for your Uber, Lyft. So, because I have had a couple of couples that they ordered one, it got picked up and then dropped. And so then they ended up having to find a ride home with a guest friend instead. Or that they ordered it too late and then they're waiting 40 minutes and they end up late to their reception because they waited too long to order their Uber.
Can't you pre-order these?
You can. You can pre-order them, which is fantastic because then at least you can say, okay, be here at this time.
Right.
And even if we're taking photos in between the ceremony and reception, we should be able to give you an end time and location.
Sure.
So that you know when you should be picked up. But just don't expect in that situation either that your photographer can transport you. Because most of our insurances don't cover that. That's a liability. So you will need to likely transport yourself.
Okay. So good to know.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd ever ask, hey, can I catch a lift with you, my photographer?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
There are people that do assume that we can drive them because we're going to the same location.
That's crazy. Because what if you have to, run an errand in between or grab some food or whatever it is?
I would just hate to have a couple in my car. Even though I'm an incredibly safe driver, that doesn't mean everyone else is. And I would hate for us to get into a wreck on the way to your wedding or your reception. So there have been times where we have given rides, but we try everything in our power to not do so.
Okay.
So
Uber, Lyft, whatever you can. Make some... have somebody make those transportation plans for you.
Yes. And even if that's not you, which hopefully it's not, hand that off to one of your bridal party and make sure that they are getting those things done.
Right.
So,
going away stuff, bags, and collecting things from your getting ready areas.
Yes.
You're gonna want to delegate that to somebody. You're gonna want to have them collect everything that you need to take with you that night, because when you're finished with the reception, you're not going to want to go try to find all of your stuff.
No, and most likely by the time you're done cutting your cake, you're going to be pretty done.
Yeah.
And so at that point, if you now have to go leave your guests, which is already incredibly impossible, it's almost impossible to leave your party when all your guests want to talk to you. You're not going to be able to walk away whenever you want and go disappear. You're going to want to send your bridal party with a list of things that need to go into these bags. And so there's usually a couple of different bags. One, everything that needs to go home or with your parents that are not imperative. And then you're going to want a bag for the night of. And obviously, if you are leaving that next morning or even that same night for your honeymoon, which we don't recommend, but it does happen, you're going to want to make sure that that bag is ready too, that it has everything in it. They're going to want to do one more precursory check, make sure your passport, your enhanced ID is nearby, your wallet, any of your money, your marriage license goes to where it's supposed to go. So all those things. And you'll want to make sure that you have people that you can trust that won't be intoxicated to do those things for you. So we kind of mentioned this a few minutes ago in, making sure that somebody has your plan, but you're going to want to discuss any of the what if moments that could happen during your wedding day and who your main go-to person is, and that one specific person completely understands your vision, that it's the person that you are absolutely closest to, that knows here is the heart of their day. And these are the things that are non-negotiable, and how to make decisions that keep in line with the overall goal of your day. So because there will be things that happen, there could be a table linen that's missing. So now what do? We could be short a table. We might be short a set of goblets. There could be bouquets that show up that are incorrect. There could be all of a sudden a freak rainstorm that starts like 5 minutes before you go down the aisle. So you need to have somebody who can make these decisions for you, because you're going to be so overwhelmed with the fact that you're getting married that you're not going to want to make these decisions yourself. So
It's going to be really hard to make those decisions yourself.
for sure.
So that's our list of things that you need to delegate. And you can go and find this list on fromringtoveil.com/136. Print it out if you'd like, make notes, whatever. And it would be very good to take with you to your meeting with that person.
Yes.
And say, okay, all these things are delegated and this is who they're delegated to, just so you know. But before we move on, we need to and want to send a special thank you to our recent sponsor, Shop the City. You can find it at shopthe.city. If you're looking for a unique way to spend time with your bridesmaids before the wedding, or maybe even after the wedding, or if you're just looking for a fun time with your girlfriends, check out shopthe.city. Let them bring shopping to you.
All right, so the next part of our list we kind of broke down based on specific people. And of course, just keep in mind these things depend on what their talents are and kind of what they actually want to be involved with. But these are just basic tasks that we would recommend assigning to this specific person.
Right.
So first step is Maid or Matron of Honor.
Right. So if you decide to do favors, you know how we feel about that, then she should help out with those or could help out with those.
And then addressing invitations. So if you're not hiring a service that can do this for you or not printing them, if she has fantastic handwriting, this might be a great job for her to help you with. So, because this can get really overwhelming.
Yes.
Even though it feels like, oh, it's, only 100 invitations. That's a lot.
It is. For handwriting, yes. And nowadays, yes.
Yeah.
We don't all handwrite every single day, so sometimes it hurts.
Yes.
Helping to pick out the bridesmaid's attire. You're going to want some feedback and opinions of the people who are actually wearing them.
Yes.
So she would be a great person to take with you when you're shopping or when you're browsing the internet.
And I will say that if there is a standoff, which there often is because not everybody likes the same thing. So if you're not flexible to the point where you want people to be able to wear whatever they want or like within a color range, if there is a decision that needs to be made, defer that to your maid of honor. She has that role for a reason. And so final call will come down to the two of you.
Agreed. So the matron or maid of honor should also make sure that the bride uses the restroom and help her if she needs it.
Yes, because there are a couple of ways to do this. And ask any of your experienced wedding vendors kind of how they recommend. So a lot of people will just go in there and use a restroom like normal and have like all their bridesmaids hold up their dress. There are easier ways to do that. So that don't require quite an audience. But yeah, she should be the one that is designated to go in and help you with that task because it will happen after you have your dress on. Because you will be in your dress for like a good 8 hours that day. So
Especially if you don't change.
yes.
She also should help bustle and do veil work.
Yes, and so she should understand where the bustles are, and then how she's going to secure them if they keep coming undone, and then also how to put in your veil and how to take it out and refix your hair a little bit if needed. So she should know where the pins go, or if you're putting a special clip in, she'll be the one kind of helping you do those things.
Now, does she need to do that like during photography time or photo time, like to bustle and to change the veil, or
so
make sure it's
usually
straight?
bustle will happen right before they go into reception. We don't bustle prior to reception.
Okay.
And at that point, like usually the couple will get announced in, so there's a little bit of downtime in between,
Right.
To where she can come in and help bustle.
Okay.
And the veil normally happens at the same time too. It'll happen after photos.
Okay.
So
So the wind's blowing the veils around. Is that her job to fix it, or
Generally speaking, I will fix that.
Okay.
So anything that needs like touched on her, I will probably take care of just because I have a lot more experience in fluffing dresses and such that I know how I want it to fall. Of course, if she wants to be like, oh, let me touch her hair, like I'm cool with that. Go ahead.
Okay.
But yeah, for the most part, if I'm doing photos of the couple, you're not going to be there. So, because I do things like a very specific way that it ends up with my couple getting some alone time.
Okay.
And so that's, that lets me be able to be the one to take care of her during that time on anything she needs. But yeah. And then reception shoes. So most of my couples, the bride will have a pair of reception shoes. And she will need help changing into those shoes, just as she needed help putting her shoes on for the ceremony and everything that happens prior. She'll need help changing into the reception shoes. And as much as I love you, amazing brides, I don't want to do that for you.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. It kind of goes along the lines of the bathroom thing.
Yeah.
So your maid of honor can help you put your shoes on. And just know, maid of honor, that is your job that day, that you get to help change her shoes. So, yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the mother of the bride. What is she good for? Well, first of all, she should know all your friends and family.
Yes.
She
And just like
probably
mother
knows
of the groom would know that
Exactly.
side. Yep.
So having them call and check and confirm if you have not got an RSVP from them or a call or anything and you have no idea if they're coming.
Or even if they have RSVP'd, that she should call and make sure that they have reserved their accommodations.
That's true.
And that they have directions.
True.
And know where they're going. So, and if they are invited to any pre-wedding activities, that they know where those things will be held as well.
Okay.
So, and that's a good thing for a phone call, because otherwise, if you're overwhelming them with all that information and invitations or save the dates, it's going to get a little nuts. So if mom can make those phone calls and touch base with everybody and talk to them personally, it'll really help set the tone for your wedding. All right. So the next thing that they should both do, so mother of the bride and mother of the groom, is be ready and dressed before the bride. So
and the groom.
And before the groom. So because you guys are going to both be helping your children get ready in some way. Most of our brides' moms actually help do up the dress, will help put on any jewelry. So all those intimate, really kind of caretaking moments. And most of our grooms, you'll be doing like the boutonniere. A lot of the moms actually end up tying the tie. So, you will be helping and you're going to want to look your best. And I know that you are going to have those moments where you're like, oh, there's so much left to be done. And that's why we've talked about all these things that get delegated. And you'll notice that most of them were not to you.
Right.
So your day, too, you get to go enjoy and spoil your children and really just, help them with these special moments, because you're not going to get them back. It's okay to take a few minutes, get in there, get dressed, look fantastic, and then help your child get ready.
Right. Right. Here's one thing for mother of groom and bride: mingling and greeting the guests. We have lots of introverts now. It seems like that will just kind of stand back. But you are hosting this thing. You guys are putting this on. So you need to greet your guests too. They are the mother and father's guests also. Okay. So mingling and greeting them and giving them a little instruction and just say hi and be pleasant. Both of them need to do that. Yeah.
Because it's your responsibility too to get to know who your couple or who your children's friends are that have been invited as well.
That's right.
So, because this is the time where you get to meet the people that are their family, and their family extends to their friends, especially now in this day and age where it is all about the friends being family.
That's right.
So get to know who everyone is. Go and introduce yourself. And kind of in that same vein, it's also your job throughout the night to go and talk to your children, because they are not going to have the time or the focus to come and talk to you.
Right.
And they won't even realize that they haven't because they will be so busy. So make sure that you are taking that and going and saying hi to them and checking in with them and see how they're doing throughout the night.
See if they need anything.
So
just take care of them.
Yeah.
And so now the mother of the groom, the father of the bride, stepfathers, uncles, aunts, whomever they need to be prepared to dance with that bride or groom.
yes. Yeah.
So take lessons, maybe even pre-dance with them once or twice, kind of get your footing together.
Yes. Yeah.
Pick out songs if you want to, or if they'll let you.
We do have a couple of couples that they will surprise their parents with very important songs to them, so they won't get to know beforehand.
Okay.
But
at least ask.
Exactly. And at least practice dancing with them. Mm-hmm. So we've noticed lately, especially, that this is kind of an awkward thing for moms and their sons, which is kind of in the trend of like a lot of boys don't dance anymore. Mm-hmm. So, but it is really hard to see when they kind of don't know how to dance. They don't even know how to dance with their new wife.
Right.
So moms, make a few minutes during the planning part that you're practicing dancing with your son.
That's right.
So,
and same with fathers and daughters.
yes. Although that's a lot, they tend to dance together a lot more often. So, yeah.
So for the fathers and the uncles,
Yes.
if you're into something special like woodworking and that's your thing, maybe you make their arbor or their special bench, or some kind of a, if you have a loved one that has passed on and you want to make something special to honor them, maybe that's something that you make for the couple.
Yeah, I even saw one recently where the uncle had made them a outline of their estate with a heart kind of on the city where the ceremony was happening, and their names carved in it. And he made it completely out of wood, and it was like a huge surprise to them that he presented to them the night before the wedding. And so they used it as their guest book last minute, and it was gorgeous. And so, yeah, like, don't hesitate to do something that is your special talent for the couple.
So cool.
All right. So also make sure that you have your own speech ready to go,
Yes.
and that you've checked in with everyone else who's supposed to do their speeches. Mm-hmm. So this is pretty much maid of honor, best man, father and mother of the bride and the groom. And then, like, just make sure that you're toasting, not roasting.
Yes. Oh, yes. We've
and
had
make sure
that whole show.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And make sure that everyone else understands that doing a toast, that it's toast, not roast.
Okay.
So, and make sure that you have your drinks full, or that you have told someone who needs to get all the champagne out, that the champagne is out and ready and serving before it's time for toast. So that would be a great job for the father of the bride or the groom.
And also another job for them is brute strength. So when things need to be moved, tables, chairs, arbors, things like that, you are there. They are there and ready to help move that. So you could delegate that to them.
Yes. And another great job for like uncles, fathers, male cousins is as escorts. So that people do know where to sit, that they can get grandparents sat at tables during reception.
Right.
So just as a great person to be like, hey, let's come over here and we're going to move this way. So
not being a male escort, but escorting your
yes.
guests to where they need to be. That's what we
Not
need.
that kind of show. All right. And then I think we have one last one that would be great for the mother of the groom, just because there are seemingly so few jobs specifically for her.
That's true.
Instructing for the cake placement and floral placement.
Right.
So that she would know where all of that is supposed to go would be fantastic. Because it's a pretty important thing. Mm-hmm. And that she knows when the cake is supposed to come out, especially if it's a summer wedding, because if you have a buttercream cake, it's not going to come out as soon as it arrives. It's going to need to be set up later. And so that she understands what that looks like and what that means. And she'll probably have to, add florals to it or whatever needs to be done. So, and that she knows where the cake topper is, where the cake knife and all
or
of that
if there is a cake topper.
Exactly. Or if there's a cake knife even.
Right.
And what she's going to do if there's not.
Exactly.
So, she can kind of be the person to troubleshoot that whole section for you.
Awesome. So that's all that we have for you on delegating. If you have any questions, please let us know for either us or for Kate even. Or if you have a question about who should do what, let us know. You can always email us from ring to veil info@fromringtoveil.com, or hashtag us anywhere that you can put a hashtag. If you are not subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher. We're even on YouTube if you are a YouTuber. No, a YouTube consumer, I guess I should say, because YouTubers are the ones that actually... Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm learning. We're there.
YouTubian? Yeah, there we go.
We are on YouTube if that's how you like to consume.
Until next time, no stress, no worries. Keep calm and listen on.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can find us on Facebook, From Ring to Veil, on Twitter, @From Ring to Veil, and on our website, FromRingToVeil.com.
Music provided by bensound.com.